Two unknown best friends. Ayan never knew the exact moment when loneliness settled inside him. It didn't arrive like a storm or a heartbreak. It crept in quietly, like dust gathering in a forgotten room. He was 24, living in a crowded city where people brushed past each other every day without ever truly seeing one another. He worked at a small printing shop near the old bus stand, spending his days surrounded by ink-stained papers and the constant hum of machines. At night, he returned to a single-room apartment with peeling paint and a window that looked out onto nothing but another wall. Bilaal, on the other hand, believed loneliness was something you learned to live with. At 26, he worked as a night security guard at a private hospital. His job was to stay awake while the rest of the world slept, walking silent corridors, listening to the soft beeping of machines and the distant footsteps of nurses. He had grown used to the idea that people came into his life briefly and left just as quietly. He told himself he didn't mind. Their paths crossed in the most ordinary place imaginable. A tea stall near the bus stand, open 24 hours for drivers, guards, and Ayan stopped there every evening after work, ordering a single cup of strong chai, sipping it slowly as if stretching those few warm minutes before returning to his empty room. Bilaal came in at odd hours during his break, his eyes tired but alert, his uniform slightly loose on his thin frame. They noticed each other without realizing it. At first it was just familiarity, the same faces seen repeatedly, nods exchanged without words. One rainy night, when the power went out and the tea stall was lit only by a dim lantern, Ayan found himself sharing the wooden bench with Bilaal. The rain fell hard, drumming on the tin roof, trapping them there. "Long night?" Ayan asked, surprising himself with his own voice. Bilaal looked at him, slightly startled, then smiled faintly. "Every night is long when you're awake while everyone else sleeps." Ayan nodded. "I think nights feel longer when you don't have anyone waiting for you." There was a pause, not awkward, but heavy. Bilaal stirred his tea. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That too." That was the beginning. No dramatic introduction. No exchanged phone numbers right away. Just words shared over chipped cups of tea. Slowly, those words turned into conversations. They began to time their breaks to overlap, even though neither admitted it. They talked about small things at first. Work, the weather, the strange people they saw during their shifts. Then, without realizing how, they started talking about themselves. Ayan spoke of his childhood in a small town, of a father who died too early, and a mother who worked herself sick to keep him in school. He talked about dreams he once had becoming a writer, traveling, doing something meaningful, and how those dreams now felt like stories belonging to someone else. Bilaal listened. He always listened carefully, as if every word mattered. When it was his turn, he spoke of moving from city to city, never staying long enough to build roots. He mentioned a family that existed somewhere but felt impossibly distant, like a photograph faded with time. He never complained, but his silences said more than his words. They didn't call each other best friends. They didn't even call each other friends at first, but they became something rare. Two strangers who could sit in silence without feeling alone. Weeks turned into months. Ayan started bringing extra snacks from the printing shop. Bilaal shared stories from the hospital about patients who held on to hope with trembling hands, about families who prayed in corridors, about the strange comfort of dawn after a long night. They laughed sometimes, quietly, careful not to break the fragile bubble they had built. One night Ayan didn't show up. Bilaal noticed immediately. He checked his watch. 10 Dead Road. The tea stall owner shrugged. "Maybe busy," he said. But Ayan was never busy. Not enough to miss their tea. The next evening, Alan appeared, looking thinner, his eyes shadowed. Bilaal didn't ask right away. He waited until they were seated, cups steaming between them. "You weren't here yesterday," Bilaal said gently. Ayan stared into his tea. "My mother's been sick," he said. "I didn't want to talk about it." Bilaal nodded. "You don't have to." Ayan looked up then, his voice trembling despite his effort to control it. "But I want to, because if I don't say it out loud, it feels like it'll crush me." So we talked about hospital bills he couldn't afford, about fear that sat on his chest at night, about the guilt of feeling exhausted when he knew his mother was suffering more. Bilaal listened, his jaw clenched, his eyes soft. "You're not alone," Bilaal said, when Ayan finished. even if it feels like it. Ayan let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. In that moment, he realized something frightening and comforting at the same time. This stranger mattered to him. A few weeks later, it was Bilal's turn to disappear. This time, Ayan waited. He came earlier, then later. He asked the tea stall owner. Nothing. 3 nights passed. On the 4th night, Ayan walked toward the hospital, feeling foolish but determined. He didn't know Bilal's full name, didn't know which entrance he guarded. He only knew that he couldn't sit with the not knowing. He found him near the emergency ward, sitting on a bench, his head in his hands. Bilal, Ayan said softly. Bilal looked up, startled, then relieved. You came. They sat there as ambulances came and went. Bilal spoke slowly, as if choosing each word with care. His younger brother had been brought in after an accident. He was alive, but barely. Bilal hadn't known whether to hope or prepare himself for loss. I didn't want to tell you, Bilal admitted. I didn't want to be weak. Ayan shook his head. You're not weak. You're human. Bilal laughed bitterly. Funny how easy it is to say that to others. They stayed until morning, until the doctor came out with news that the brother would survive. When Bilal finally allowed himself to breathe, he realized he had been gripping Ayan's arm the entire time. Neither of them pulled away. Life continued, as it always does, indifferent to private victories and losses. Ayan's mother improved slowly. Bilal's brother began to recover. The tea stall remained their quiet refuge. They shared dreams against small ones now, saving enough money for something better. Writing, maybe. Studying further, not being stuck forever. One evening, Bilal said, Do you ever think about how strange this is? Ayan smiled. What? That we know each other so well, and yet we're almost invisible to the rest of the world. Ayan considered this. Maybe that's why it works, he said. No expectations, no pretending. They didn't take photos together. They didn't post about each other. There were no witnesses to their friendship, but the tea stall owner in the night sky. And somehow, that made it pure. Then, change came quietly. Bilal got an offer for a security job in another city, better pay, daytime hours. It was the kind of opportunity you didn't refuse. He told Ayan one night, his voice careful. That's good, Ayan said immediately. And he meant it, but his chest ached. I leave next week, Bilal added. They sat in silence, longer than usual. The tea went cold. We'll stay in touch, Ayan said, though he wasn't sure how. They had never exchanged numbers, as if afraid that making things official would somehow break the magic. Bilal smiled sadly. Yeah, we will. The last night came too quickly. They didn't say much. Words felt inadequate. When it was time to leave, Bilal stood, then hesitated. Thank you, he said, for finding me when I disappeared. Ayan stood too. Thank you for listening when I needed it most. They hugged briefly, awkwardly, tightly. Then Bilal walked away, blending into the city lights. Years passed. Ayan eventually left the printing shop. He started writing at night, turning his thoughts into stories, his loneliness into words. Sometimes, when he felt lost, he thought of a tea stall and a man who taught him that being seen by even one person could change everything. Bilal settled into his new life. He worked during the day, slept at night. He built routines, even friendships. Yet, on certain evenings, he found himself craving a cup of strong chai and the comfort of shared silence. They never met again. They lost contact, as people often do. But neither of them ever forgot, because some friendships aren't meant to last forever in time. They last forever in the way they quietly save you when you didn't tea, even though you were drowning. And somewhere in the vast noise of the world, two unknown best friends carried each other's presence like a soft lightened scene, but always there.